What's up, guys? It's your boy JK Primetime. I'm back here with another video, and we're gonna do our next video in this first round prediction series. And the next team we have here is the New York Giants. So start with the New York Giants. We'll kind of look at what they've done so far when it comes to the main highlights when it comes to their free agency. When it comes to their offensive line, they've had a lot of changes there. They lost their starting guard Justin Pugh to Arizona. They lost DJ Fluker to Seattle. And they also lost their starting center, Weston Richburg, to San Francisco. Now, they did kind of shore that up when it comes to their signings. They signed Nate Soldier to a 4-year, $62 million deal. When it comes to that deal, it's a lot of money. It's for, a guy, he's not a super young guy either, Nate Soldier. He's 29, so by the time he gets that 4th year, he's going to be in, early mid-40s, or not 40s, 30s, early to mid-30s, which is kind of iffy. But still, left tackle, especially with Eli, you needed someone to protect that blind side for them. And it's such a hard position to fill because any good left tackle, or really any good tackle in general, is already to be signed, held onto by teams. So they're really hard to come by. So you're going to have to overpay for one. So I don't necessarily blame them for signing that. They also signed John Stewart to a 2-year, $8.4 million deal. Decent running back. He's past his prime now. He's getting older. He's maybe a year or two left in him probably at this point. So I think he's more of just to give someone out there, some veteran presence there at running back. So when it comes to their draft needs, looking at their draft needs, they, couple of them include quarterback for one. Eli Manning's getting older. He's in his mid to late 30s. He's definitely going to need to get a successor at some point. I don't know how the new regime feels about Davis Webb. He was I think if I'm not mistaken, a 2nd round pick last year. So I don't know 100% how the team feels about him at the moment. O-line, again, is a big one. If we look at their offensive line right now, left tackle, they're solid with Nate Soldier. The left guard, they have Patrick Omameh. Center, Brett Jones. Right guard, the 3 main guys you would think of is John Jerry, John Halapio, and John Greco. John Greco, I know, was a solid backup, solid piece in Cleveland. He's signed to a low money deal, so obviously he's probably going to be probably a backup on that team. And at right tackle, the main name on there is Eric Flowers. Eric Flowers has been a bust pick. He's not that good of a tackle. So that offensive line is really in a bad spot. I think they really need to add some depth to it. They also need a running back. They did sign Jonathan Stewart, but again, he's a year or 2 left. I think the running back is Paul Perkins. He was decent, but you could tell he's not a guy that's really a 3-down back for you. He's, a support back. He's not really a, solid starter caliber running back, at least in my opinion. And then, a little bit help with defensive line. They're getting a little older there. They did just trade Jason Pierre-Paul. So now they have Olivier Vernon. And I think his name's Kareem Martin also there. So they have some depth there still, but they got rid of Jason Pierre-Paul, which does help them money-wise. Not this year necessarily, but in future years. But overall, when it comes to their second pick, in my opinion, I think their first priority, at least if you look at their draft board, I feel like number 1, they would have Saquon Barkley. He is, at least in my opinion, the best overall player in this draft. They needed that running back. And even, let's say, again, this kind of depends on what the Browns do in number 1 and also how they feel about Davis Webb. If they have confidence in David Webb to be able to build him over the next, 2-3 years while Eli's still there to be able to build them into that franchise quarterback, then they definitely should go with Saquon. He's a great pick. I've already talked about him in my last video talking about the Browns because I think that the Browns should draft Saquon. But if Saquon does not go number 1, the Giants should definitely get him because even with their average to below average offensive line, a great running back like Saquon can also take pressure off Eli to have the pass so much, and then also make the kind of cover up the deficiencies of the offensive line. The next pick, to be honest, another guy that could be mentioned here, mentioned by some, it's kind of a reach, is Quentin Nelson. Talent-wise, again, he's a top 5 player overall in this draft as a prospect, but I don't see any team going with an offensive guard and a top 5 pick. If he was a tackle, then maybe, but he really seems like an offensive guard. I really wouldn't go for him as a top 5 pick. If they were out of the top 5, let's say they traded with a team that pretty much wanted to hop a team like the Broncos or even maybe the Jets. I don't really see anyone in the top 10 that'd be too inclined to do so because you have the 49ers who have a quarterback, the Raiders, Bears, Bucks. They all have quarterbacks. So to be honest, there's no team that they could trade with. But overall, I really don't see them going after Quinn Nelson, even though talent-wise he has a top 5, probably pretty much I think a top 3 talent overall in this draft as a prospect. I really think they really should focus on a quarterback. And to be honest, the best quarterback to fit for them, I really would feel like would be Josh. I think Josh Allen would really benefit. Josh Allen, I think, is the guy that's probably the most raw out of all the quarterbacks, in that, out of the top 3 quarterbacks, where you have Darnold, or even the top 4, when you have Darnold, Rosen, Allen, and Mayfield, I think Allen's the one who needs the most development. So putting him on the Giants, who kind of like, again, not saying he is like Aaron Rodgers, but just that same situation where you have a possibly Hall of Fame caliber quarterback, or at least a solid quarterback, career-wise, being able to mentor a project and be able to give him 2-3 years to be able to work. Again, a big thing is that you don't know when you're going to be back up here at a top 5 pick as the Giants with the talent they have. I definitely think they'll want to go running back, though, as the first pick, is the first priority. For at least Saquon is the first priority, because they have so much money invested in. And to be honest, they're going to probably need to rebuild in a few years with their all the free agency guys. Those contracts are going to expire, but with the talent they have, they've Odell, Eli, they have guys on defense. They did give up Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, but it's still Vernon. They have a decent line, so I really feel like that they're really going to make a push. So I think getting a running back will help shore up something. I think they'll use the later rounds or different rounds, especially since they got an extra third round pick in the Jason Pierre-Paul deal. I really think they're going to work on building the offensive line later in the draft. So maybe even go with a running back later in the draft if Saquon doesn't get drafted. But my main priority with them, I feel like, is they have to go after a quarterback. And to me, that quarterback is Josh Allen. They could go. Darnold would also be a good pick. I could see Darnold. Rosen is kind of, in my opinion, already pro-ready. So I feel like again, they kind of want a pro-ready guy, but I feel like they'd really want to go with more developmental piece so they can really work on him for the next couple years, because they want a guy with a high ceiling, because he's not going to be starting right away. But tell me what you guys think in the comments below, and besides that, I'm out.